Good morning. It's been a little while since I've done one of these videos and I apologize for that. About 10 degrees out this morning, and we're gonna go take care of the animals and we'll talk about what happened with the farm in 2023 and what we're looking at in 2024 and what the future of my channel is. So I hope you stick around for a few minutes and let's get these animals fed and I'll tell you what's going on. So we have two Angus calves and I weaned them off milk, but I had some milk replacer left. But what I'm doing is I'm just in a powder and I give them a bucket of water and then I mix a little bit of grain in just to use it up, and they don't complain about it. They're pretty happy. So we'll just keep going with this until we've used it up. You can tell it's cold out because right here you can see where that door was rubbing. Well, the wood is shrunk because of the cold weather and it doesn't rub anymore. But when the humidity comes back in the spring, I'm sure that it will. So some of you who've been around for a little while, you know that I've switched from Jersey steers to Jersey Angus cross. And the reason for that is they are a little bit better foragers and the calves are much more robust. And of course they get quite a bit bigger. So I think one mistake I made was I bought a heifer because that's what they had. So this was a bull, but he's been fixed, and I've got a video on that where we did that. And then I've got this heifer. So I have a really hard time sending animals to the butcher as it is, but I'm not about to give up meat. But it's really hard for me to send the girls to the butcher shop, which unfortunately is what I'm going to have to do because I've been farming for quite a while, and obviously I grew up on a small farm, and there's a lot of risk involved with breeding and raising cattle. So obviously there's a risk involved with breeding cattle because number one, you have to have a bull or have an artificial breeder come out to catch the heifer or a cow when she's in heat and then get her bred, and hopefully she took, and then hope she doesn't have a miscarriage. And meanwhile you're feeding that cow the whole time. And the gestation period for cows is just like us, it's 9 months. So I just remember a lot of scenarios when I was a kid where either the cow didn't take, or some really bad examples of when the calf would be a stillborn, the calf would have some kind of trouble, or worse than that is you'd have a terrible birth where you lost the mother and the calf. So that's not something I want to get involved with, and the financial burden associated with that is just not worth it. So I go to a dairy farm about 8 miles away and buy calves. So for $200 I can get a nice calf, or I can raise a cow all year, hope she gets bred, hope the calf doesn't die, and then
I actually named him Dexter
or have somebody come and breed the cow, which costs more than what it would have cost just to buy a calf in the first place. The only good side is I get a brand new calf, but when I go to the dairy farm I get a brand new calf there. So I don't think the benefit outweighs the cost of breeding cows. And yeah, it's fun, you know, to have babies born on the farm, but the risk that's inherently involved is just not something I'm going to take. This is Luna, and she's our oldest katahdin ewe. And I've had her about 5 years. My wife and I, now current wife, we went and picked her up when she was a baby. That was one of the things we did. And she has the most beautiful lambs every year. And this lamb right here is a nice little ram lamb. And I don't know that I'm gonna be able to send him because he's just such a nice ram. So I had avoided keeping rams for much of the same reason that I avoid keeping bull. Number one, they're dangerous. Number two, it's something else I gotta feed all the time. So generally what I do to get my sheep bred is I will have a ram lamb in the spring and I will keep him until the breeding season is over, and then I send him to the butcher shop. That's worked pretty well for me for most of my farming life. So we'll see what happens. Jury's out on that so far, but he's a really nice looking ram. So katahdin sheep are inherently a little skittish, which is fine. I don't have sheep to be pets, and as much as we want to have our animals as pets, sometimes it's really not worth it. Having livestock as pets is inherently a bad idea. In the first place, that's not what their purpose in life is. And the second place is they don't really make good pets, unfortunately. So most of the feed that I have is grown right here, about a mile or two away on my sister's farm. They grow corn and they combine it and then mix in oats, so we get really good quality feed. Commercial grain, obviously, for the chickens, because corn and oats aren't everything that the chicken needs. So we have oyster shells, we have oats, we have the corn, and this right here is one of my favorite thing. This is kelp meal, and this is right here from Maine. And I think kelp is a great mineral to give your animals, so we give them that. And I give them, besides the chickens, get a quality layer feed from Poulin, which is milled right in Vermont, and they're a sustainable company. They do a great job. I try to buy everything local if I can. But I buy forage extender from Poulin also, which basically is just alfalfa chopped up and put into little pellets. I have the oats that are local, and then sometimes I'll buy this chopped hay, which is kind of pricey, but what it is it's just hay that's been chopped up and molasses put in, and I only buy a little bit of it, and that is for like our lactating ewes, because it's just like a little treat for them. We also have these alfalfa cubes, which these are pretty good too. So these are just chopped and formed alfalfa. So I don't give them a lot of grain, but I do like to give them something, because what it does is it keeps them friendly. It keeps them so when I call them, they come to me. And more importantly, when it's time to load them on a truck, but they walk right on every single time. I've never had any issue with any of my animals getting on the truck before they're killed. So I have a lot of mixed feelings, but ultimately I'm not going to be an herbivore. So in 2023, I did a lot of changes in the barn, and some of you have seen that. One of the things I did was I took out the stalls that were here and I put a new floor in. So this barn's 100 years old, and after 100 years of cows being in it, the floors were toast. The superstructure of the barn was miraculously fine. So I decided to put my wood shop here, and the animals, as far as the cows go, they go underneath the barn with the sheep, and the calves go at the end of the barn with this cement pad, and the sheep are over here on this cement pad when they have lambs. But I only have animals inside when they're babies. So I have the ewes who are going to have lambs. I bring them in so I can keep an eye on them. And also, when I buy new calves, I keep them in the barn where they're safe and I can tend to them. And I'm going to do a demonstration this year on 2 different types of birds. I'm going to do the Rangers, which a lot of people swear by, and the commercial Cornish X-Rocks. So I've tried both, and the X-Rocks win every time. They're 6 to 7 weeks. They're out of here. They're bigger, and inherently they just cost less money to own. I think one of the biggest changes I made was I got rid of most of my antique tractors except for a couple. And the reason for that, I love tractors more than probably most of the people who are watching this show. And if you watched one of my last videos, you'll see how many tractors I've actually owned in my life. But the problem with the old tractors is they're not safe, for one thing, and they're not always reliable, and it doesn't matter how much restoration you've done on them. And I find that the older I get, the more difficult it is to like get on and off and hook things on. So I made the choice to divest myself of almost all of them, and I know a lot of you are sad about that, and I apologize. Historically, the channel was designed, I started this channel for my children because they've all pretty much moved on, and I think at some point they're going to look back on this, and some of the videos I made had them in it just before they were leaving. And so my whole purpose of making this channel was for my kids, and I think they will much more enjoy the videos where I'm actually doing what I'm doing right now, or showing people what's going on around the farm, but more than flipping through tractor books, you know. So they'll like that too, but I'm trying to get back to what I really made this channel for, and I appreciate everybody who watches this. And I still will have tractor stuff. I'm not giving up on tractors, but it's just not going to be my primary focus. So I apologize for some of you who probably subscribed thinking I'm just going to show tractors, and then suddenly you're watching a video on castrating a bull. More importantly, this time of year when it's 0 degrees out, I don't like it out here. I'm in the house playing with trains, so I understand probably some people don't like that very much. The channel that I'm having is going to be a little bit more about what goes on here as far as the farm goes. And like I said, I will have tractors, I will have some tractor brochures I'm going to put up, but it's not going to be the main focus. I'm going to have more trains, I'm going to have more animals, and more just about what's going on in the general life here. And those are the people who watch the channel and have been with me for a long time. I want those people to want to follow me because I'm a person, not because I have tractors. So if that makes any sense. So hope you've enjoyed the video, and I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care now.